Welcome to my review of the Yamaha EF3000iSEB Inverter Generator. One of the two questions you ask yourself is, number one, do I need a generator? And number two, can I buy just a cheap generator that you get from a local hardware store for $600 to $800 with the open engine, as seen here? Or do I really need an inverter generator? First thing to know is a couple key facts about the difference between the cheap generators and the difference between an inverter generator. So the cheap generators, like the one we showed you up here, that you buy really cheap in a hardware store, first of all, those things produce power going through an alternator, and they run at full 36 or 3500 RPM. So one thing about those, they're very loud. Second thing about them, very fuel inefficient because you're always running at full RPM. Now, do you notice when a furnace turns on or something that's heavy electrical in the house and all of a sudden your lights dim? Well, with the cheap generators, because of the power that they produce and it's not clean power, there'll be a fluctuation in how much power it's going to output. So if you hook a light bulb to it or a lamp, you'll see that light will get dimmer and brighter, dimmer and brighter. So the power is not consistent, okay? So that's some of the disadvantages of the big ones. They'll use lots of fuel, very noisy, and the power is not clean. So if you're running something with microprocessors, like a computer, cell phone, even coffee makers now have these little computers in them and that, microwaves, anything like that, you definitely want to go with an inverter generator. There's so many advantages of having an inverter generator. Number one is fuel economy. Because with an inverter generator, it will fluctuate the speed based on how much load you're putting on. Whereas the cheap generators, whether you're running a little tiny little light bulb or you're running a coffee maker or anything, that thing is going to be running full tilt all the time. Where an inverter generator, if you're only running a light bulb or something very, very light, it'll idle right down to probably a quarter or 1/3 the throttle, and it'll be very, very, very quiet. So, which will also save you on a lot of fuel. Another thing about inverter generators, the power is exactly like the power that you would get right out of your outlet. The power is very, very level, very, very clean. The power that comes out of it, you can plug right into your generator. You can plug a laptop, plug your cell phone, any kind of computerized things, coffee makers, anything, and you don't have to worry about it knocking out any of the electronics that you have. Inverter generators are also tremendously quiet compared to one of those cheap generators. You're paying all the extra money for the inverter generator, but you're getting a lot of benefits out of it. So, over to my review of the Yamaha 3000iSEB. So, Yamaha sells two different kinds of 3000 SE. There's an SEB, which is a 3000 watt generator with a boost. Now, the other generator that they have is called a 3000 SE. If you look at the outside, other than the sticker, the generator looks exactly the same. Now, the reason why I bought this one back in 2012, so we've had this thing for 13 years running flawlessly. The reason why I got this one is the B on the end means boost. So this thing will put out 3000 watts full out. It's rated for 2800 watts of continuous operation. Now the B on the end means boost. So there's a battery in here that you use for the electric start, and what this thing will do, let's say you're running an RV and you're running an air conditioning unit, that air conditioning unit is going to take a lot of sudden power to get that compressor and fans going right away. So this thing will produce an extra 500 watts of power for up to 10 seconds. So it'll produce 3,500 watts for up to 10 seconds in order to get that generator working, the air conditioning running in your RV, or a furnace fan, or something that takes really heavy electrical. And then it'll, after the 10 seconds, then you'll have your 3,000 watts or 2,800 watts continuous. Okay, so let's go through the control pad and show you some of the things on here. One of the things that I really like about this generator, some of them don't have a fuel shut-off. Now, I always like, especially off-season, to be able to turn off the fuel to the system. So what I do is at my last run of the season, or if I'm running it and not going to run it again for a couple weeks, basically what I'll do is I'll turn it off and let it run out of gas. That takes the gas out of the carburetor, and that way you're not going to have carburetor issues. And you have your electric start button here. You have your economy switch right here. So you can either choose, if you're running power tools or something that takes heavy electrical and you don't want the RPMs fluctuating and you want to have the RPMs going all the time, just leave the switch on. This thing is going to, leave the switch off. You're going to basically be running this thing at full throttle. If you turn the economy switch on, then it will fluctuate RPMs based on the load on the generator. So less load, it revs right down nice and quiet. DC power, this thing, and it comes with the kit. There's plugins here. You'll be able to put 12 amps direct DC power if you're recharging batteries. So when you fire this thing up, AC light comes on. If you are taking too much power, then the overload switch will come on. Overload light will come on. And if it takes it for too long, it'll trip your breakers. Also, a really, really nice feature, because mechanical things happen. You never know. Someday you might get an oil leak or something like that. If you start losing oil, let's say you're running it for 6 or 8 hours and you're not watching it all the time because you're running, say, a trailer, or you're running some pumps or something out in the side of your off-grid cabin. The nice thing is, if something ever happened to this engine and you lost oil all of a sudden, the red oil light comes on and it will shut down this engine so that you basically don't destroy your engine. So that's a really, really nice feature. Right over here, you've got two 15 amp electrical sockets. And over here, you've got a 23.3 amp twist lock. So if you're hooking up to your RV, you're going to need to get an adapter for this, because the RV connectors are a little bit different than the connectors in here. But you'll hook in your 30 or your 50 amp trailer into here, but you can only produce 23.3 amps. So one thing I really like about this Yamaha generator is when you get a generator in this size range, 2,500, 3,500 watts, usually they don't have tires on them of any kind. Usually it's just a bracket and it goes on the ground, and then you have to lift it, 2 people, drag it around. The nice thing about this is you got wheels in the back. And you've also got some small wheels in the front, and you can lock them. So see, it rolls free wheel, and if you lock it, then the wheels lock up. So that's a really nice feature to have. I like the fact on the top here, a couple things I really like here. Large fuel inlet, so it's easy to fuel it up, and you got a gauge right in the top. I know it's hard to see at night. Just get a light, and if you shake it a bit, you see how the needle moves. So that's a good way to keep track of how much fuel you have in it. So let's take apart some things on here, and I'm going to show you what makes this thing so quiet. Because remember how I told you earlier, these generators are very, very quiet. On low RPM, it'll run about 51 decibels. And on highest RPM, she's going to run around that 62, 63 decibels. Now, just to give you an idea about the sound level, normal conversation between 2 people is usually around 65 decibels. So it's actually quieter than when people are speaking to one another. So now the fun stuff. Let's start taking some panels apart. I'm going to show you something that you have to do on a regular basis. You're going to have to do oil change and checking your oil. So I'm going to take apart this side panel here real quick, show you what that's all about, and then we're going to do another fun project. Okay, so I got my tools. Let's start doing some minor surgery, you guys. Okay, just kidding. What we need is a 10mm socket. And we're gonna do that for the battery. But all we need to get in the side compartment is just a little screwdriver. Little Phillips screwdriver. And you just open this up. There we go. Now, before I get to what's inside here, you can see part of this, unlike a normal generator or a normal piece of equipment, you can see all this nice sound insulation foam. This is what helps insulate that engine inside from letting the sound go outside. So that's what keeps this thing nice and quiet. So love these panels, easy to get at. And then I'll show you inside the compartment. Right there is your dipstick, where you basically check your oil. And this is where you also add oil. So this unit doesn't take a lot of oil. It takes 0.6, so 600 milliliters of oil, and I always use synthetics. Synthetic's the best thing to use on this. So as far as a quart goes, it's about 2/3 of a quart if you're from outside of Canada here. And right on the bottom here, if you look inside there where I'm pointing with my finger, that's your drain plug right there. And that's a 12mm bolt. Now, if you see this little rubber, I'll point to it with the screwdriver. Right there, if you can see that, the piece right there, that's just a little rubber plug that you pop out. And then when you're draining the oil is gonna drain right through that hole and underneath. Now, I like to put this thing up on blocks, the wheels up on blocks, have it a little bit higher off the ground. And what you can use is one of those, you know, used cookie sheets or used baking pan that's about 1.5 to 2 inches deep, you know, from a roast or if something you buy in the store, like cinnamon buns or anything like that. You can use that, put it underneath and drain the oil into there. It won't take much oil. Like I said, it's 0.6 of a liter, 600 milliliters. So that's a real easy process there to get in this compartment. And I'll just put it together. So no excuse not to check oil, you guys. It's a very, very simple procedure. See, it only took us a minute. Really quick. Okay. So now let's have some fun. Let's go look at how this thing is designed. So in the side compartment here, where this handle is, we're going to remove this whole side. And underneath this side is where the battery is located. So this is only going to take us a couple minutes. So let's have some fun, get to work. And you guys wonder what this thing looks like? It's actually pretty cool. Wait till I take it apart. Time to take off my gloves. Probably wondering why I'm wearing gloves. Well, thought spring was here, but apparently it's not. It's -6 degrees right now, Celsius. So, oops. Helps if I use the right end, eh? So, that's the fun thing about Saskatchewan, you guys. You just never know when spring's gonna come. The other day I was wearing a sweater walking around. Today I got my winter park and my toque on. Okay, and that comes off. And you can see all the insulation, the sound insulation. And it's to prevent all the sound from coming. Now, if you look on the side, you can also see Yamaha was really, really good. Wherever they can put sound insulation, they've put sound insulation, which makes this unit very, very quiet. So, and right here we can see the battery. So I'll show you how easy it is to take the battery out. So at the end of the season, if you're not going to use this thing for a long time and you want to put this thing on a charger, you can either just take that part apart and put a little maintenance charger on it just to keep the battery level up, or you can just totally remove the battery itself. So let's take apart the side panel here, and I'll show you if you ever have to replace a battery on this, it's very, very easy. Again, nice thing about Yamaha, some other manufacturers that I've seen with different types of equipment, they've got all kinds of different bolts for all kinds of different panels and stuff, and it drives me nuts. Nice thing is, all these panels here, all 10 millimeter bolts. So, thank you, Yamaha. There we go, simple as that, didn't take long. And then we just slide the battery out. Simple as that. And if you have to change the battery, all you do is take off the negative terminal, take off the positive terminal, and just take this strap off, put a new battery on, hook it up. It's a 5-minute job. And then you can see inside behind here, if you want to take a quick peek, you can see the components inside. See where the engine is back there. So everything's nice and clean. I like to blow it out and stuff. Just make sure there's not a lot of debris in there. You never know, dust and everything comes in there when you have it running outside. So we'll put this back together. So, okay. It'll take me 2 minutes. I'll put this thing back together quick, and then I'm going to take the back panel off and show you what's behind there. See you in 2 minutes. Okay, welcome back, you guys. Okay, so I've basically turned the whole generator all the way around, and this is the back side of the generator. So we have a nice easy access back panel here. So part of the maintenance is, you know, every couple of years it'd be great if you went and changed the spark plug. It helps it start easier and helps it run better. So here's the panel entrance to get into where the spark plug is, and it gives you a little better idea of what the motor looks like. So let's open this up real quick and I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, here we go. So basically the same thick panel, and you've got that wonderful sound insulation that they've put in here also. And I'll bring the light up here. Overhead valve engine. And you can see I keep everything nice and clean. And here's your spark plug right here. So very easy access to get at everything, to do the basic maintenance. If you have to do anything more extensive to it, of course, you got to take a lot more stuff apart. But they've made it really, really easy for anybody who owns these to do general maintenance on these, oil changes, change spark plugs and everything, and to change the battery. So very, very happy about the way this thing is designed. So, okay. Another couple things that I like about this, the fuel efficiency. So according to specifications, this is a 13-liter tank, which is this much in gallons. So basically on this 13-liter tank, you were supposed to be able to run, if you're running the full 2,800 watts that it's rated for running continuously, it's going to run 7.8 hours on a full tank. And it's supposed to run 19 hours if you're running it at 1/4 load. So that's really good fuel efficiency. So this thing is running, I did the calculations on it. So if you divide 13 liters divided by the 7.8 running hours at 2,800 watts, so to figure out how many watts of power you're getting for 1 liter of fuel, you are getting 1,679 watts of electricity in a whole hour for that 1 liter. So that means you could run 1,679 watts of an item for 1 whole hour, and that's what that means. So very fuel efficient, very happy with how it's run, but every good thing has its drawbacks. So the one big drawback I see, well, actually 2 big drawbacks that I see with the generator that I've noticed over my 13 years of owning this thing is, number one, even though having this back wheel back wheels and these small front wheels are great. If you're on pavement or if you're on cement or hardwood floors inside of a truck body or something like that, it's great. Grab one hand. As you can see, very easy to roll. And look down here, if you are trying to pull this thing through gravel or through sand, ain't so much fun. So the unit looks light. It's a nice, small, compact unit, but the dry weight of this thing is 157 pounds, okay? So you take into account putting in 13 liters of fuel into this thing, and between the weight of the machine and the weight of the fuel, you're just over 178 pounds. So not for the faint of heart. So we've used this on work sites, had to use it for emergency power and run it out into the field to run equipment or running a trailer on a side yard. Not fun to lift this thing up with two hands. I can't do it right now. But you grab this thing by two hands to lift it in and out of a truck or in and out of a van. I'll tell you what, not fun. Really, really, really heavy. One thing I wish Yamaha did, you guys did a great job, and Yamaha's done a great job on designing this, and it has been a very good unit. The one thing that I would love to see, if you can make the tires a little bigger, please. And it would be great to have on these front wheels, instead of just trying to drag this thing, because when you're trying to go through deep sand or deep dirt, I mean, you look how tall I am. I'm not 7 feet tall. I'm, normal height, basically just shy of 6 feet. And you see how much I have to bend over if I'm dragging this thing. It gets really, really hard in the back if you're trying to drag it through sand or through dirt or loose gravel. So, and carrying it, if you try to carry it to wherever you're going, that's not an option. Again, 178 pounds, I think not. If I was 30 years old, might think about it. I'm a bit older than that, I ain't gonna do it. So, I prefer to have a little bit bigger wheels, but I understand that you can't have big wheels on both sides. You know what would be really great? Yamaha, think about doing this, please. Over here, if you come on over here, this is a Honda 7000 that we just picked up. This thing is also super quiet, and I really like the way they've done it. They don't have wheels in the front, but they have really, really nice wheels, big wheels in the back. Now, I would love to see Yamaha do something like this. On the side that has the small wheels, if you can just have some nice handles like that, that just click up like this and you can grab it. See? The Honda, substantially heavier than my Yamaha. But one hand, simple, and I can even, see? I can roll this thing back and forth with one hand. So, stay tuned. Next month, we are going to do a full review on the Honda 7000 inverter generator. But back to the Yamaha. If you guys have any questions or concerns, any other comments now that you have about the Yamaha, do you guys own a Yamaha inverter generator? Let me know how you like it. If you have any questions on this one, leave it in the comments and I'll try to get back to as many questions as possible. But I'd like to thank everybody for showing up for my Yamaha EF3000iSEB inverter review. Thank you again. Please like and subscribe. This is Ranger Dave Homestead. I appreciate everybody. Peace, and I'll see you on the next video.